Hi everyone. Thanks for joining me today for my talk today. My name is Misty Reed of conceivablecoach.com, and the talk that I'm giving today is stress reduction techniques from a Chinese medicine perspective. So let's go ahead and get started. All right. So first of all, I just want to take a minute to go ahead and thank Shelly as well as everyone that's here watching today. I know everyone's really busy these days. It's always hard to squeeze these things in. So I certainly appreciate your time today, and I hope that you get some great tips to use in your daily life. So today's topics, our big topic is stress reduction and what we can do about that. But before we go ahead and get into tips for that, I always feel like it's really important to discuss with women what exactly stress might look like and what it's doing to your body, right? So what we're going to talk about today is how stress affects our bodies, specifically as women. We are going to go ahead and talk about possible symptoms that might be showing up from stress, besides just the normal irritability or feeling stressed or anxious that most people think of. So we'll talk about other symptoms that might be caused by stress. And then we'll also go over some tips, some diet and lifestyle changes that you can make whenever you're going through a stressful period or whenever you start to realize that you are stressed, to go ahead and help get and keep you in optimal shape. Because we all know whenever stress starts to affect our lives on a daily basis, it's not just your body that can go ahead and suffer, right? It's also our mind, it's our mental well-being, as well as our family life and our business, right? So anything we can do to go ahead and keep you in optimal shape physically and mentally is going to be good for everyone in your life, including your business and your clients. So let's talk a little bit about why stress is harmful. So whenever we do actually go ahead and get stressed, a certain mechanism kicks in. And so what this is called is the fight or flight mechanism, is what most people have heard it called. Whenever fight or flight kicks in, it's due to stress, and your body from caveman days feels like there's some sort of immediate threat, right? There's a bear, there's a wolf, something's chasing you. And what happens is cortisol levels increase, and that increase in cortisol levels causes several different things to occur. So we'll see inflammation in the body, decreased blood flow to the pelvis area. The big thing is your body views stress as as danger, right? So what's happening is in old caveman days, right? Maybe there was a bear, there was a wolf. So your body was like, oh my gosh, there's danger. Cortisol levels increase. That decreases blood flow to the trunk of our body, including our pelvis, to increase blood flow to our limbs, which of course are our arms and our legs, right? The reason the body does is because if there's a bear or a wolf chasing you, you need to fight off your attacker or you need to run away from it, right? So this makes a ton of sense when we think of caveman days, when there actually might be a threat like a bear or a wolf nearby. However, in modern day times, for most of us, the threat isn't really danger. It's really more being stuck in traffic at work, having deadlines at work, having a busy social life and a busy family life. And our body, unfortunately, doesn't know the difference between busy time at work versus a bear, right? So this is why it's really important for us to pay attention to our stress levels so that we can manage this mechanism, because your body is preparing to face danger, and it causes some havoc kind of in our bodies, especially as women. So when this mechanism kicks in, the fight or flight mechanism, and cortisol levels go up, it can cause inflammation. So this means if you have pain anywhere in your body, stress can actually make it worse because it prolongs that inflammation process. As I mentioned, since it is preparing you to fight off an attacker or run away from an attacker, it decreases blood flow to your trunk, but also to your pelvis. So we can see some issues, some hormonal issues for women, as well as some menstrual cycle irregularities and some other issues there. And we also know that cortisol levels compete with certain hormones. So with women, it causes us to have an irregular cycle. I know it's all women in our group, but even with men, there was a study in 2010 that showed that cortisol actually competes with testosterone. So what that means is during periods of high stress, testosterone can't be picked up by the body to be utilized for reproduction very easily, because cortisol is essentially taking that spot on the shelf. And so, yes, men are supposed to make more testosterone than us, but we also have to make some testosterone as well. And that's just a normal part of our reproductive cycle, to make a little bit of testosterone. So if cortisol is competing for testosterone as well as other hormones, it makes a lot of sense that for women, it's going to result in us having an irregular cycle. So that's kind of, why stress is harmful. Some of the results of stress, as I mentioned, we will see irregular periods or irregular cycles, meaning that it doesn't usually fall around that 28-day cycle that we want. And what this means is whenever your cycle is irregular, ovulation is changing. That's the reason that our cycle changes, because ovulation is moving around. So stress can cause anovulation, which means we're not ovulating, or just delayed ovulation, and that's how it causes irregular cycles. It can also cause things like painful periods, dark clotty menstrual blood, even really light periods. And the reason for that goes back to what I mentioned before, right? So if blood flow is being diminished to the pelvis area, then it makes sense that all your hormones aren't getting to your ovaries and to your uterus. So it's affecting when you ovulate, but it also affects the quality of your uterine lining. And ideally, what we want to see is fresh red flow whenever we go ahead and get our period. So if we're seeing anything other than that, it usually means that there's some diminished blood flow to the pelvis. So what will happen is during periods of stress, especially high stress, it diminishes blood flow, and so you get some blood flow to the uterus and then it stops, and you'll get some more and then it stops, and the cycle just continues to ebb and flow, and that's what causes the unhealthy uterine lining to form. So you might be saying, well, Misty, I'm not in that time of my life, or maybe I'm on, birth control, so I don't really know what my cycle looks like. It also causes other issues for other times of our reproductive life, such as perimenopause. So whenever stress is really high, we will experience more hot flashes, night sweats, irritability. All of those things can be made worse by periods of high stress. So that's another reason why it's really important that we pay attention to this. And especially for women, I feel it's very common that women deal with stress differently, right? So a lot of us are busy with family, maybe raising kids, having a busy social life. Maybe you have a partner, and then you also are an entrepreneur, and you have hopefully successful and busy business as well, on top of all of those other life things that are going on. So what happens is women tend to show stress differently. It doesn't always show up just as irritability. So I want to talk a little bit about the results of stress and some other areas of your life, what you might be seeing. So a big area that I'll see this affect is sleep. So what happens is sleep might become really irregular, or just might be poor quality. And a way to think about this is, if you're getting 8 to 10 hours of sleep a night, but you wake up in the morning and you still feel tired, it's very possible that you are having not very restful sleep, that you're really restless at night. You might be moving around a little bit in bed. So that's something to kind of go ahead and think of. When it's really bad, when stress is really bad, we even see insomnia, right? Which is the inability to fall asleep or stay asleep. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're up all night, but if you have trouble falling asleep or staying asleep, that is technically classified as insomnia. And stress certainly can have a factor on that as well. So that's something to look out for, is irregular sleep stuff. Feeling overly tired, so any sort of fatigue is something else that we want to keep an eye out for. If your body constantly thinks it's being attacked by a bear, then it makes sense that you'd be overly tired, right? Even if you're sleeping a lot, because your body is exhausted from pumping all those, the adrenaline, the cortisol, all those other hormones through your body to run away from that attacker. Essentially that fake bear that isn't there, right? So that's something else that be going on. Neck tightness is something else in Chinese medicine that we see a lot. And this kind of ties into the irritability as well. So in Chinese medicine, we associate things with different organ systems. So stress usually affects the liver system first in Chinese medicine. And so what we see with this is not just irritability, but we'll also see people that sigh a lot as well. And what I mean by this is, here's an example. So I went to the store today, and they didn't have, the thing that I needed, so I had to go to this other store, and I've just been to like 5 places today, but everything's really fine. Right? So all that sign in Chinese medicine, that's another sign that there's a lot of stress going on. So it doesn't always just show up as being irritable or by being angry, right? Which is kind of something that most people think of. So irritable, angry, sighing a lot, those are all things that can go on as well as neck tightness. In Chinese medicine, the upper part of the body is part of the liver system. So whenever we have stress, what happens is our shoulders, right, just kind of start to inch up, which is pretty common, especially if we're over a computer all the time and kind of hunched over. So as stress gets worse, we kind of keep bringing our shoulders up, and that, of course, causes a lot of tightness as well. So there's just some other symptoms to kind of go ahead and look out for if you're wondering if stress is affecting you or not. The ones I see the most commonly, though, are sleep issues and fatigue, even when my clients are sleeping well. So let's talk about some things that we can do to decrease stress, right? That's why we're here. So, something that's just really, really just monumentally important is good self-care. And when I say self-care, what I mean is anything that you find nourishing, right? So maybe what's nourishing for you is to journal or to write poetry or to work on, storytelling. Maybe what you find nourishing is to go to yoga practice or to go to a gentle yoga class instead of something more rigorous. Maybe being out in nature is what you find nourishing. So whatever kind of fills your cup, whenever you do it and you just feel better, like there wasn't any drain on you to go ahead and make that happen, that's what's nourishing to you. So I always like people to go ahead and make a list of things that they find nourishing, maybe like 5 to 10 different things. That way you can go ahead and schedule in that self-care over the next few weeks. And what I like for you to do is schedule in your self-care before your schedule starts to get really busy, right? Because if we don't schedule that in, life kind of takes over, and there's going to be other things that are going to fill up your calendar. So really helping to manage with self-care is very, very important to help prevent us from getting to that stressed out point, right? Something else we can do to help decrease stress is meditation. And meditation can be really, really simple. I talk to a lot of people that feel like meditation is really hard for them. Or they're like, I've tried meditation, I'm not good at it, I don't want to do that again. Meditation really shouldn't be something that you might be good or bad at, right? Meditation ideally is you just focusing on the present. So a lot of stress comes from worrying about things that have already happened, and we can't change that, right? Because it's already happened, it's in the past. Or stress can come from worrying about something that hasn't happened yet, right? So we can plan for the future, but at a certain point, that planning becomes worrying, right? So meditation allows us to really go ahead and stay present with our mind, not worrying so much about the past, not worrying so much about the future, but just staying in the present. And so the more you meditate, you'll actually be able to call on that as you go throughout your day whenever you're having a stressful period. And really the easiest way to meditate, I mean, there's a ton of apps out there. Ambana is great, Headspace is great. There's even some reproductive health ones through circlebloom.com. And all of those are great. But you can also just set a timer on your phone for 5 minutes and focus on your breathing. That's usually what I have clients start out with. It's very, very easy, right? So you set a timer on your phone. I know you have one. Put it on Do Not Disturb. Set a timer for 5 minutes. Close your eyes and focus on your breathing. And you're just going to, breathe in, breathe out. That's what it feels like to be in my body. And every time you have a thought, you're just going to acknowledge that's thinking. I'm going to go back to the breath. And that's going to happen about 1,000,000 times in 5 minutes. But it's okay because you're training yourself to go ahead and stay present. So that's something else that we can go ahead and do to help lower stress is actually to meditate on a daily basis. For you than doing 30 minutes on Saturday when you actually have more time. So that's something else I'd like y'all to try as well. Another thing that I want to talk about is exercise. So for some women, just the way that our hormones work, for some of us, do too much cardio for the whole week, it actually has a negative impact on our stress levels. For some women, and the studies have shown that it's for women that tend to consider themselves more type A or perfectionist, those women do well with cardio a few times a week, but usually more than 3 times a week it starts to increase cortisol levels, right? Which is the exact opposite of what you would think, because usually you work out and you feel better afterwards. So you'd feel like it lowers your stress levels and regulates those hormones. But for some of us, it doesn't doesn't do that. So what we want to do is we still want to do that cardio because that's good for our heart, and we do, get that nice endorphin rush afterwards, right? So it feels good. But we also want to add in other types of exercise with it, right? So things like walking, yoga, walking in nature is very good. Any sort of thing where you're stretching. And this goes back to that Chinese medicine component that I talked about earlier when I mentioned the liver. So the liver in Chinese medicine is like a tree, okay? And so lots of the different organs have different elements that go with them. But liver is wood, so it's like a tree. And it's kind of that feeling you get in springtime, right? When you're going about your business, but the weather's starting to get nicer and you just had this winter where you've been stuck inside. So as we go through spring, we actually want to go outside and play, and we want to be out in nature, and we want to run and play and move, right? That's the feeling of the liver. So what happens is whenever you go ahead and get too stressed out or you let stress accumulate, everything gets bottled up. And the liver, it being like a tree, trees grow up and out, right? Like they have their root system in the ground, but the rest of the tree is growing up and out, right? So the energy of the liver is like that as well. So energetically, the liver wants to go up and out. And if we kind of constrain it, then it eventually erupts. And so that's when we'll also get the irritability, the anger, things of that nature. That's why it's important for us to do things like stretching, walking, yoga, because the liver likes to stretch. It likes that movement, right? If you can kind of think of that up and out movement, then it makes sense that stretching and elongating our body, going from this more to that is going to make a lot of sense, right? And that's probably why when you do those things, you feel better, right? So that's something else we can do as well. So it's really important for us to have the cardio routine and the exercise that we enjoy, but whenever we are feeling stressed, we also want to try to incorporate some other types of exercise that are lower impact, but that usually involves some sort of stretching of your muscles, okay? So far we covered self-care, meditation, and exercise, and now I want to go ahead and cover diet. So in Chinese medicine, if you've never seen an acupuncturist or anything like that, we do a lot of lifestyle recommendations as well as dietary recommendations. The foods that we recommend are going to be a little bit different. It's not based off of Western medicine or Western nutrition. It's based off of energetics, kind of how a food, what energetic properties it has. So, but there's a couple different things we can go ahead and eat and drink to go ahead and help calm our body down, specifically the liver, so that it can go ahead and help process our hormones better and help process that cortisol as well. So leafy greens are something that are really great to have. Leafy greens just provide a lot of nutrition for the liver. In Chinese medicine, they help us build blood as well. So anything that's going to help build more blood will help support the liver, and that actually, believe it or not, will help you deal with stress better. So, of course, like salads are great. Cooking leafy greens is really good. Anytime you cook food in Chinese medicine, we believe that that's better for you because it's easier for you to absorb the nutrients. And green smoothies. So anyone that's already doing smoothies, if you can go ahead and add in a couple handfuls of kale or mixed greens or whatever you want. Adding some greens into that smoothie can be a great way to get another dose in of greens for the day and help support everything. I will say smoothies can be really great for the right person, but for women that have diabetes or maybe polycystic ovarian syndrome, any sort of issue where blood sugar is an issue and it's not well regulated, maybe like insulin resistance, then those women may or may not be able to do green smoothies or smoothies in general. They should probably check with their doctor and also pay attention to how they feel after they have one. Something else we can do is lemon water in the morning. So lemon is good for the liver as well in Chinese morning. So you have this first thing in the morning before you eat or drink anything else. All you do is you take half of an organic lemon. You're going to go ahead and squeeze it into your coffee cup, and then you're going to go ahead and drop the rest of the lemon in there. So you squeeze that half of the lemon, drop it in the cup, pour in boiling water, and then you're going to put a saucer on top. And the saucer is just to go ahead and keep any of those essential oils that are coming out of the lemon peel into the drink, right? So we'll put, a saucer or some sort of lid over it, let it steep for 3 to 5 minutes, and then you go ahead and drink that first thing in the morning before you drink anything else. It's just a nice way to go ahead and wake up the liver. If you're going through a period of really high stress, you can actually go ahead and drink that at the end of the day as well. Some other foods in Chinese medicine we use are things like eggplant, garlic, chives, radish, scallions, onions, even peaches and vinegar, and rashes. So not all those things together, but adding those things into your diet individually can go ahead and help support the liver a little bit more, and that will help you deal with stressful situations better as well. Things that we want to avoid are things like spicy, greasy, sugary foods, processed foods, dairy, and caffeine and alcohol. All those things are hard for us to process, so they put more work on our liver is what happens. And whenever the liver gets overworked in Chinese medicine, that's when we're more susceptible to stress. So those are the tips that I have for you guys today. So just recap, self-care is important. Meditation, just 5 minutes a day. Set a timer on your phone. Exercise, make sure to incorporate some sort of thing that stretches your muscles like yoga or walking. And then for diet, we want to get in those leafy greens, warm lemon water in the morning before you eat anything else, and then having some foods like eggplant, garlic, chives, onions, those sort of things will really help support your body a little bit better so that you can deal with stress, because we all have stress on a daily basis, right? So the last thing, we're hitting about 20 minutes, so last thing, if anyone wanted a list of those foods that help support the liver, I mentioned a couple of them, but I have a document that has more of them on there. Feel free to go ahead and shoot me an email at misty@conceivablecoach.com, and I'd love to also go ahead and take questions. If anyone has any questions, you can just type them in the Q&A box over there on the side, but you can go ahead and email me if you want a list of the foods that help support the liver and will help you deal with stress better, or if you want it written down, how to go ahead and make that lemon water in the morning. I'm happy to send you both of those things. Just shoot me an email at misty@conceivablecoach.com. And if you have any other questions for me, please feel free to reach out. It looks like no one has any questions for today's presentation. I hope you guys enjoyed the information and that it was valuable. And I will see y'all online soon. Thank you so much.